Hello and welcome to another episode of Talking with Tanya. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about lessons I learned from my relationships, heartbreaks, realizations, and growth. Before we dive in, I want to preface that everything I share comes from my own personal experience. I know not everyone will relate to every story, and that's okay. No two lives are the same. I share these insights because I hope they open the door to conversation. Conversation is what leads to understanding. So I've realized that there have been so many times in my life where I assumed what the other person was thinking or feeling, and I made decisions based on speculation. So if my experiences resonate with you, my hope is that they shed some light on similar situations in your own life and offer a fresh perspective to help navigate them moving forward. In this episode, I'll dive into lessons on self-worth, patterns, and using what I've learned to help me find what I'm looking for in my next partner. So my current approach to love right now is I'm a lover girl. I am a hopeless romantic. I used to think that, my life is going to be like a romantic movie. Like, I want to believe in fate and synchronicities and meant to be. But life and reality is not as simple as that. It's a lot more complicated than that. I've learned that there are many nuances about love that I had to learn before finding my ideal person, such as values, love languages, communication styles, attachment styles. Why is it so hard just to be happy? One thing I've noticed in my relationships, and I'm sure many of you have too, is how attachment styles show up, whether it's anxious, avoidant, disorganized, or secure. These patterns affect how we love, communicate, and sometimes misread each other. So attachment styles are formed from our experiences growing up through from our caregivers, right? So it's like our parents are the first example, if you had both parents, are the first example of what love looks like, of what a relationship with another person looks like, and as kids, we're sponges, we're absorbing this and we're making it our own, into our own beliefs. And, if you didn't have a healthy example of that, you might have some of these issues, within yourself. And it's not permanent, you can learn, reflect, and be able to change as we grow. So yeah, they can be formed through a combination of early experiences with caregivers, the environment we grew up in, and our natural temperament. So some of us, we're all born different. Some of us are just a little more sensitive than others, and me being one of them. They're not, like I said, they're not permanent. They can be shifted in adulthood. So let me explain what these attachment styles are. The anxious attachment style, they seek closeness, worry about being loved or abandoned, and they're sensitive to perceived rejection. So if they even just assume that they're going to be left, like they're going to freak out. And yeah, the slightest bit of rejection, they can really take it hard, and they just fear abandonment. So for an avoidant attachment style, they value independence highly. They may pull away under pressure. They struggle with emotional closeness. And then the disorganized attachment style is mixed with wanting closeness, but also fearing it. They crave intimacy, but they pull away when it feels too real or overwhelming. And I feel like this one's cultivated in an environment where one parent is like emotionally reactive, like really explosive in their emotions, and the other parent is like emotionally absent and distant and just not there maybe. So yeah, that's what it was like for me. They learn that love is both a source of comfort and fear. And then the secure attachment, this is the healthiest style. They trust that love is stable and safe. In my late teens and early 20s, when I really started entering the dating scene, looking back, I can remember clear behavioral patterns that pointed me towards having a disorganized attachment style, which is where I craved closeness and feared it at the same time. I noticed I would exhibit signs of avoidant attachment style while being with an anxious attachment style partner. I've heard the two commonly attract each other. And then I would also exhibit signs of anxious attachment style when interacting with an avoidant. So it would flip-flop. So now I want to bring up some potential scenarios where these attachment styles really come out, right? To where you can notice the patterns. For like example, conflict or disagreement. So like a conflict or disagreement with your partner, the anxious may worry their partner is pulling away or not caring enough, leading to over-explaining, seeking reassurance, or heightened sensitivity. with my experience with an anxious attachment partner, I feel like the slightest things, right? Like the problems didn't have to be that big for them to really want to just, like, you can sense their anxious energy, and they just want reassurance, they want to feel safe, and they want the problem to disappear as soon as possible. So, but with an avoidant, they may shut down, withdraw, or dismiss the issue to protect themselves from feeling vulnerable. So I feel like with the anxious attachment person, I was the avoidant, to where I hated opening up or sharing my feelings, or I don't know. I feel like I just kind of like always wanted to walk away. It was just the easiest thing to do, and I feel like if they, I don't know, they could have been. It's too overwhelming. Their neediness and their clinginess became overwhelming at times. But a secure attachment can discuss feelings openly, stay calm, and work towards resolution. So I feel like towards the end of my last relationship, I was really embodying the secure attachment, and I am very grateful to be moving into this healthier attachment style. For another scenario would be expressing needs or vulnerability. So for an anxious attachment, they would fear their needs might push the other person away. So they would overshare, over-explain, or become clingy. And so as a disorganized, if I was in this position of the anxious attachment, I feel like I would find myself over-explaining, just because I would fear like the other person. I feel like the avoidance could potentially be taking it as a personal attack. And you're just really trying to explain your perspective, not to harm or like hurt their feelings or anything like that. You just really just want to show them that you just want them to understand you, of how that you're feeling, like, because your needs matter too. And there's just like this fear that if you even express your needs, that's going to push them away. And yeah, so I've been on both sides, and it's not fun. So for the avoidant, they may avoid expressing their needs altogether or minimize their importance. And for the secure, communicating needs clearly and confidently, trusting that their partner will listen. That's how they would approach it. And yeah, one thing I started to say to myself is like, I am not afraid of difficult conversations, like there's ain't no mountain high enough. I'm the type of person that when I'm involved with someone, I am all in. There is no obstacle too big to overcome. And I really try to work hard on my relationship. So that's why I don't think any problems are too big. Like, I think, and as long as you're coming from a place of love and understanding, like, conversations just run a lot smoother that way. Because if you understand the intention of the other person, that they're not trying to of a secure attachment, right? They're not trying to hurt your feelings. They're just trying to tell you where their needs are not being met, or where they're feeling unhappy, and you want to find the resolution. So, and listening. So you're trusting that their partner will listen. Some of us just, like, even me, I've been in a position to where I feel like it's a personal attack, and all you want to do is get your point across. You don't care about listening. You just want to make sure that they're feeling what you're feeling because you're feeling attacked, and that's not necessarily healthy. So for another scenario would be decision making about the relationship. Sometimes you have to make big decisions as a team. And for the anxious, they struggle with uncertainty, often overanalyzing or fearing abandonment. And something I've noticed about these attachment styles is that the anxious falls more towards like feminine energy, and the avoidant falls more towards the masculine energy. And I'll get into that later. But for now, I just want to keep it to explaining the attachment styles. But so for decision making, so the anxious attachment, I feel, will just kind of rely on the avoidant to make the decisions and just be okay with whatever they decide, because they're afraid, like I said, expressing their needs, and that they will leave them, or fearing abandonment. And so they just want to follow through to whatever the avoidant decides, or their partner. It can honestly be whatever the case is. The avoidant will be hesitant to commit fully, or maybe pull away when the relationship becomes too close. So I've been on that side too. I remember I used to for years say I didn't want to get married because I'm just What if it doesn't work out? Oh my gosh. But man, look where I am now. Jeez. Anyway, the secure can make thoughtful, balanced decisions without overreacting to fear or pressure. Like I said, there's ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no river wide enough, ain't no, I don't remember the song, they're keeping me from getting to you. Like I said, challenges, I honestly think any type of challenge can be overcome. Like, and that, and it's just like, I want a partner who sees it the same way. Like, when I'm in, I'm all in. So how do we get through these obstacles? Because I really feel like any challenge has a solution. You just got to find it. You got to put your brain powers together and figure it out. How are we going to do this? Anything is possible. But like I said, this is my personal experience. So if you don't think so, like, let me know why, or maybe there's like a scenario where like someone has been through a certain obstacle that you really couldn't get through. That would be interesting to hear. But as from based on my own perspective, like, I am willing to put in the work and effort to make anything work, right? But I need that same energy from my partner. So hopefully, if my next partner is a secure attachment style, like, we can just not overreact or fear like our challenges. Let's just be able to talk through to them and make a decision together. We're a team. And then the next scenario would be where one partner is emotionally distant, right? The anxious may chase, worry, or try to fix the distance. Like, they don't like it. Like, this was my relationship with the anxious, is that sometimes I would be like, we would be in a heated discussion, and I would start to know or realize, right, I became self-aware that I am reacting, not responding. So one thing I really learned that kind of just stuck with me is the difference between reacting and responding. When you're reacting, like, say you're speaking from anger, your intention changes from you just want to hurt the person, no matter the cost, right? You're speaking from a place of anger, and you're not cool, calm, and collected. You're not thinking logically. You're just emotional right now. And then responding means seeing the situation for what it is, trying to find the solution, and trying to find understanding and communicate clearly with your partner. So that's responding. So I would start to notice the difference within myself, whether I'm reacting or responding. And sometimes I'd be very like heated, or just like, I can't think clearly, and I know that. I am self-aware of that, so I just wanted to walk away, let me calm down, and then we'll come back. Maybe even think about it, like, where am I going wrong, or maybe there's a different way I could explain myself to where that they can find an understanding, or maybe they can too, with the time and space. But with an anxious, they just want to fix the problem right away, and that is something I struggled with the anxious attachment partner that I had. So yeah, it's not the healthiest. So the avoidant, however, if you're giving them distance, they're gonna either match the distance or, even worse, double it. Prioritizing the independence, their independence. I used to have the mentality to where I'm like, I could do whatever I want. If you don't like it, you can leave. Not the healthiest. So yeah, that's the struggle with avoidance, is that they I don't know, I almost feel bad for them, because it's like, I offer so much, like, there's so much love I can give, and it's like, but at the same time, I have to choose myself, like, because love shouldn't be this hard. Like, I want somebody who's gonna meet me halfway, or match my energy. It's not fair to be like suppressing your needs for fear that they're gonna run off. Like, yeah, experiences with the avoidance are not the best, and sometimes they hurt the hardest, but that's okay. So for a secure, they can recognize and communicate about the distance without panic or withdrawal. So, like, you want to be able to feel safe, that you can communicate anything you want with your partner, and that they're not going to run away, or they're not going to freak out, overreact, or anything like that. That's the ideal relationship, is it not? Like, I can't wait to have that. Okay, then another scenario would be moments of change or stress, like life changes, moving, career shifts, personal challenges. these are where often trigger the attachment patterns. This is where you're going to start to see them. So anxious attachment, well, person would have their anxiety spike, right? They're seeking reassurance more intensely. They just want to make sure they're secure. And then for the avoidant, it's the emotional withdrawal may increase to maintain a sense of control. And that's no fun either. So the secure maintains the balance and perspective, navigating change with adaptability. Like I said, ain't no mountain high enough. I'm going to keep saying that, man, because it's like, that's just how I see things now. Like I think anything is possible if you really just put your mind to it, you know? And if you have like that mentality in another person, the two of you are unstoppable, man. That's how I see it. So now I wanted to move on to my next topic, which is masculine and feminine energies in relationships. I don't know about you, but I personally think the best relationships thrive based on polarity. You need equal masculine and feminine energy for there to be a balance. Masculine energetic traits include, by the way, these energies are not tied to gender. Anyone can have these energies. Some have one more than the other despite gender. So masculine energetic traits include being assertive, goal-oriented, logical, independent, problem-solving, and how this can show up in a relationship is taking initiative, making decisions, leading, and protecting. Too much of this can be over-controlling, overly independent, and or emotionally closed off. Avoidant. But, you know, in a healthy amount of it, this helps bring stability, direction, and focus into the relationship. While the feminine energetic traits include being intuitive, nurturing, expressive, receptive, and emotionally open. So how this can show up in a relationship is by expressing needs, vulnerability, empathy, and creating connection. So too much of this can show up as being passive, overly giving, or people-pleasing. Anxious. This helps bring intimacy, emotional depth, and creativity. Looking back, I realized I often lean too heavily on my masculine energy. Always leading, problem solving, or taking charge. And I sometimes neglected my feminine side, expressing my vulnerability, being receptive, and allowing space for intimacy. Because I feel like this stems from feeling like I had to grow up too fast, having to figure things out on my own, and being forced to become independent. So I kind of naturally just have these traits, you know? And I don't like necessarily know if I want to like completely just like tone it down, because like masculine, like I kind of have to be independent right now, you know? I'm alone, like I'm single and I'm figuring life out, so I have to rely on these traits. And so finding my next partner is going to be interesting, but at the same time I feel like I have more of a balance. So although I've never really been alone until now, my independence showed I was still really independent in my relationship. So my independence showed up as being mentally strong, like through tough times, making decisions, problem solving, tending to my emotions, analyzing them in situations with logic. I was also nurturing and warm, but I was also really self-sufficient. I also didn't need much validation. Like I felt myself feeling more and more secure in myself. And one thing I've realized looking back on my past relationships is that I was often in my masculine energy without even noticing it. I was the one leading, making decisions, problem solving, and holding the structure of the relationship. And while independence is beautiful, what I've learned is that sometimes I was overly independent to the point where I didn't have enough space for the other person to step up or meet me halfway. It wasn't because I didn't want love or closeness. I did. I poured my heart into those connections. But when you're always a strong one, always a leader, it can create an imbalance. I'm ready to fall into my feminine. Like, I want to be taken care of. Like, I mean, I'll take care of my person, like, in the sense of, like, being nurturing or, like, cooking. Like, I'll do things for you. Oh, my goodness. But I know I'm capable, but I don't always have to. Like, I don't always want to be, you know. Instead of being able to relax into my feminine energy, receiving, trusting, and allowing space for softness, I stayed in that mode of doing and controlling, you know. And over time, that left me feeling like I was carrying more of the weight than I should have. Now I see that part of the lesson for me is learning balance, how to honor my independence and also allow space for a partner to support me, right? So I just got to tone down that masculine down a bit. I want my partner to support me, lead with me, and love me in return. That balance of masculine and feminine energy is what really creates harmony in relationships. So right now, I feel like I'm in a much healthier balance between the two. A perfect example of this is actually my podcast. So the masculine energy shows up in the planning, structuring, organizing my thoughts, and putting myself out there. Like that takes, action and initiative. Versus like the feminine energy, it shows up in a way that I share, flow, intuitively speak from the heart, and connect emotionally with my audience. I'm really, putting myself out there in a vulnerable way. And together, these energies create harmony, not just in my podcast, but also in the way I'm learning to show up in love and relationships. So now I want to talk about balance, boundaries, and fairness. This part's important, right? Because, and this is why communication is so important, because you don't want to feel like you're overgiving, Usually the partner that's overgiving is probably the one most likely to leave, because who wants to overgive? Who wants to feel like they're doing so much work? Like, love shouldn't be this hard. At least I don't think so. I feel like there should be a balance, right? And I just want to be able to be myself, work with a partner, communicate clearly, be compatible, and hopefully I can find that, but we'll see. When speaking to your significant other, I learned it's important to prioritize understanding. I try to paint a clear picture of why I'm feeling the way I feel so that my partner can see my perspective. I'm not doing it to attack you. I'm doing it so you can understand where I'm coming from. And maybe you can tell me I'm also looking for reassurance, and validation. And if I don't understand that my partner, what they're trying to explain to me, I ask questions because my intention is to understand you, This is why I also think learning each other's love languages are also important to keep balance in the relationship, because your partner will feel most loved if you follow their love language. I can't wait to get into this. So the first love language is acts of service. Feeling loved when someone helps lighten your load or does thoughtful things for you. So examples could be like cooking dinner, helping with chores, running errands. Oh, it's literally my favorite one. I just imagine having a long list of things to do because I'm always busy, right? And my partner surprising me by already having done some of them. Not even all of them, just some of them, Or even if all of them, dream come true. Literally a dream come true. I might also occasionally find myself getting ready for bed, getting comfortable, book in hand, and then I forgot. So then I might ask my partner, "Can you bring me a cup of water?" And they're just as comfortable next to me. I'm sorry. I might tend to ask for things sometimes. The next one is words of affirmation. Feeling love when someone expresses appreciation. So the author of the book that wrote these, right? I think he said that most people have two main ones, but I don't know why. I love all of them. He said that might be a problem. I don't know. I love all the love languages. And for words of affirmation, feeling love when I love feeling appreciated. So this is when someone feels love. So words of affirmation is feeling love when someone expresses appreciation, encouragement, compliments, or kind words. So some examples are I love you, I'm proud of you, you mean so much to me. And also this one, I used to say things like, I'm so lucky to have you. And I love hearing things like that about myself. So for this one, I feel like this one kind of just this is where I would feel just in the moment, in the present moment. And I remember there are times where I would just really just feel lucky and grateful to have this person in my life. And I would just say man, I am so lucky to have you. And that feeling of just gratitude, I love it when the other partner feels that towards me. Oh my goodness. I'm such a lover girl, I know. But so that's why I love all of them. And it's such a great one to have. It really feels like you're really appreciated, and I love feeling appreciated. So that's why this one's nice. The next one is receiving gifts. Oh, so this one leads me to the next one, right? Receiving gifts. It's such a great way of showing appreciation towards your partner. This is when feeling loved when someone gives thoughtful gifts that show they were thinking of you. It's about meaning, not about money. So examples could be your favorite snack, a handwritten note, and flowers. So it's a great one too. The next one is quality time. Feeling love when someone gives you their undivided attention and shares meaningful experiences with you. So I'm not talking about quality time is not going to run errands together, accomplishing a task together. Like, that's not quality. The key term being quality, you know? Quality time is like long conversations, date nights, enjoying a walk together, maybe even just like cuddling up on the couch watching a movie together. Like, that's really real quality time right there. And then the last one's physical touch, feeling love through physical closeness, affection, and touch, hugs, kisses, holding hands, and cuddling. Like, I just love all of them. Oh my goodness. Okay, next one, sorry. Next topic is, okay, now we're getting real. Facing emotional disconnection and tough decisions. So rose-colored glasses are a real thing, man, and I've been there. Sometimes I would overlook things or red flags because I cared so much and I wanted it to work out. I would also hope that with enough communication, enough effort and understanding on my side, on my part, it would be enough, right, to be able to make things work with the other person. But I painfully learned the hard way that it takes two to make a relationship work. You know, you could always pour all this like effort and try and to understand the other person and try and make them see the potential that you see in them. But one thing that people say is actions speak louder than words. So they can, you know, say all these beautiful things to you, but if their actions don't line up with what they say, then that's what you have to take the reality for what it is. Take those rose-colored glasses off and, you know, make the tough decision of choosing yourself. So the red flags are important to sit with and consider, because further along, when the honeymoon phase starts to fade, right, the glasses start to come off, they start to stick out more, and it can either be harder to leave because you love them so much, but you start to build resentment, or you can still love them for who they are, but you start to lose yourself in the process. So when you become more aware of the red flags and they're not making an effort to make a change, like I said, there comes a time when you have to make the hard decision to leave and choose yourself. So this brings me to acceptance and healing. Heartbreak is not for the weak. I mean, it's not for anyone really, even the strong ones. Like, heartbreak is not fun at all. I want to take a moment and talk about heartbreak because, let's be honest, we all experience it, and it often teaches us some of their deepest lessons. Like, we just crave connection, and when that gets taken away from us, it's hard. When you're alone, you just want the connection, right? When you're alone, you just want nothing but connection. Or sometimes, not everybody, you know, some people are happy to be alone, but this is like the first I've been alone. And sometimes you just want to like fill the void, and you'll start to accept or overlook things because you're just trying to make yourself feel better. And that's why I think it's important to really feel your emotions, like feel what you're feeling, because when you keep trying to run away from it, by running away, I mean like excusing their actions or overlooking things and accepting certain behaviors. You're just like, because you just want the pain to go away. You say, if I excuse all these and I accept it, I still have this connection and I'll still, be all right. So I also have a friend I'm currently like helping through a tough time and going through a heartbreak, and she's struggling because he wasn't good to her. We'll just say that, because I don't want to put her business out there, either. But there's times where she's like trying to rationalize his actions and wanting to forgive him, and because she's like in pain and she wants it to stop, right? This is like, we just want connection and joy and good times. We just want that to come back and want the pain to stop. And sometimes by wanting the pain to stop, we're trying to rationalize their decisions and their actions, and we're trying so hard to gain it back, the connection that was once there. We're trying to be easygoing and overgiving, suppressing our needs, and that's why it's tough. This is like where our deepest lessons are at. It's like choosing ourselves. But this is why it's also important to take the wisdom from these lessons so we can use it to select our next partner, because we don't want to repeat these lessons. ideally, ideally for me, I want my next partner to be my last. I'm not trying to go through this again. Please, no. So when you start to feel those feelings of loneliness and you just want to, you're trying to like move forward, because at one point you're going to have to realize, this is what I told my friend, like, you have to move forward, because that's just life. Time doesn't stop for anybody. So what is that going to look like for you? Because you have to come to terms with the fact that you're going to be alone from here on out. And who knows for how long. You're entering the unknown of what's life going to look like by myself. Having to build a new routine and get adjusted to it. That's why they say time heals all, right? But as of right now, you have to see reality for what it is, feel your pain, and lean on others for support, which is what I'm trying to do. For her, I mean. So I'm trying the best I can to be there for her, and hopefully, and I've already seen an improvement. So I know like this heartbreak is tough, but let's really just try. I think the best lesson we can take from it is to try and also see our own faults. Where did we go wrong? Where did I miss the signals, right? The incompatibility, the miscommunications. Where did I go wrong? So I can avoid this, because we don't want this to happen again. There was even times in my relationships where I felt like I was giving my all, but it still wasn't enough. And that taught me to look at my patterns, my needs, and how I was showing up. So like I said, it's important to reflect on yourself. Okay, now I wanted to talk about the dating scene today, and am I ready? How do you know if you're ready? How can you tell, Of course, there's also the pressure for women of being on a biological timeline. Like, I would love to bear children one day. And I know it's going to take not only time to find somebody, but also to get to know them to see if we're compatible. So curiosity piqued my interest, and I decided to check out these dating apps. It's been years since I've been on it, years, and I wasn't a fan of it back then, but I'm a different person now, so I try to keep an open mind and try it again. But just for the experience, because I don't think I'm going to find anybody on there, to be honest. But not to toot my own horn, but I quickly became bombarded with matches. It felt both flattering and overwhelming. The time it took to look at each and every profile was, in my opinion, too time consuming. I think I personally prefer meeting someone organically in the wild, so to speak. And what's funny too is that although I made matches with people and tried to communicate or talk and get to know them, I am not good. And this is definitely a learning curve to dating, because the amount of times I've been ghosted, it's kind of funny. Oh my gosh. I think I'm too direct. I don't know what it is. I'm too open. And when you tell people or when I tell people oh, I just got a relationship 2 months ago and I'm barely putting myself out there again. They don't like that. And that tells me maybe I'm not ready. So, yeah, like I said, it was only on there for the experience. And I feel like people are so quick to just want to meet up already. Personally, me, and I think this is the approach I also take with finding my next person, is I prefer to be friends first and then we figure out if we're compatible. It's less pressure that way. That way you're not, you're getting to know each other. And then you get to decide, well, do I like this person, Yeah, these guys were just so quick to want to just go and meet me. And I'm honestly, I'm so anxious of a person. I don't know if I could do that. That's why I think it's easier to meet someone organically, because it's okay, well, you're already within my environment. There's no pressure to have to get to know you either. I feel like if you mesh with someone really well, it just happens naturally. So, but that's why it's important to be yourself. I feel like people are struggling to date these days because we're too scared to be ourselves. I think that has a factor in it. I don't know. I'm just trying my best to be myself. And if someone is attracted to that, I feel like it'll let itself be known, right? And I think if I'm attracted to the other person, we could just see where it goes from there. I don't know. I'm new to this. Learning curve, like I said. We'll see what happens. Okay, moving on. So I kind of want to wrap up with like all the key lessons I learned, right? So the first one is emotional fulfillment comes from knowing and valuing yourself. So once you learn about yourself, I think that's the best way to like be with somebody, because you don't want to like learn about yourself and then realize like we're incompatible. That happened in one of my relationships. I feel like we had nothing in common because I like fully embodied what emotionally fulfilled me, or started to emotionally fulfill me, and it didn't seem like it was really aligning with this person. And I'm just like, so our values are different. That's what I was starting to learn. And valuing myself, I was for the majority of my dating and my relationship time, I felt like I was not at a level of self-worth that I should have been for myself. And the more I started valuing myself, the more I was asking more of a partner, and I feel like they weren't really meeting me halfway or meeting me at my level. So that's where the tough decision had to come into play. Another key lesson is recognizing imbalance and taking responsibility for your choices. So you want to see where you're feeling like it's not being reciprocated, right? If they're not meeting you halfway, this is where you have to I guess bring it up to the forefront. And sometimes that's not the easiest, but like I said before, I don't know if I said this already, but I feel like love shouldn't be this hard. I feel like once you, like, that's my goal. Once I find somebody who's in a secure attachment style, in their masculine energy, I feel like we're gonna work together as a team, and there's gonna be more balance. But at the same time, be aware of your own choices and take responsibility, accountability for them. And I feel like that way there's going to be a balance. That way they don't feel the imbalance as well. The next lesson I learned was confidence and independence are powerful attractors in love. So there was a post I read that said the more capable you are, the more confident you become. And I really resonate with that, because I think when you're capable, that's when you become attractive, because then that tells the other person that they're not going to be pulling more of the weight in the relationship, right? And I feel like I'm very capable. I'm very self-sufficient, and being independent, just like being able to rely on yourself. Like, you don't want to have to take care of somebody, because taking care of yourself is enough. Life is hard enough as it is. Having a partner should be making life easier for you, right? Are they adding value to your life, or are they making it more difficult? Like, that's something I would ask myself. And this helps you make the decision for your next partner. But you want to be able to bring the same thing to the table. Be confident and independent, and be capable. The next lesson I learned is avoiding assumptions. Seek clarity through communication and reflection. This is why I said, I don't know if I already said this, but I am not afraid of having difficult conversations. I want to get to the bottom of things, and I don't want to play games. I don't want to assume. I don't want what the other person is thinking. I'm just tired of that. I don't want to put in more effort to try and understand the other person. I just want to be upfront. Like, just tell me what's going on, communicate with me, help me understand, and we can move from there. We can reflect. We can be happier. That's how you move from problems. So I don't want to, I just want clarity. That's how you'll ultimately be able to move forward to find the best solution for the problem, is if you have the clarity. You need the answers. And I'm no longer going to be in a position to where I'm no longer going to put myself in a position to where I'm going to be assuming, because that gets exhausting. That's more work on my part, and I'm done doing that. So I encourage communication and reflection. And I don't know. So tell me, what you guys learn based off your relationships. What is something that I've missed? What is something I didn't mention? Because I need all the help I can get. Still, I may feel like I know a lot, but you never know. I might have missed something. So yes, reflect on your own experiences, your own patterns, and where can you grow. And if this helped you, I would love to hear from anybody who this has helped, and that'd be very heartwarming for me to hear. I feel like I'm really putting myself in a vulnerable position on my podcast sometimes. Like I'm sharing a lot. I'm putting my business out there. And I just I feel like there's a purpose to it. Like there's a purpose for me to share these experiences and be vulnerable. Like someone has to do it, because I feel like we're living in collective illusions. I just saw a podcast, Mel Robbins. 100% recommend. It was really eye-opening. And it was talking about collective illusions, that a lot of us just assume that we all are thinking these certain things, but in reality, our private thought, and then sometimes we even go along with what everyone's thinking, but in reality, our private thoughts are not coinciding with that. It's different from what we think everybody else thinks. So, and that's not healthy. This is why authenticity matters, and that's why I'm trying to put myself out there, because I feel like this could be eye-opening to some people, and like we don't want to assume anymore. So we can't we're basically playing pretend. And this is why I put myself out there, open the door to conversation and help people realize that we're not all thinking the same thing after all, So I'm going to link that podcast episode down below, because it's very interesting. Very, very interesting. Loved it. 10 out of 10. But yeah, so once again, I appreciate anybody who was sitting here and willing to listen through everything that I've learned. I hope this helped. And thank you so much for talking with Tanya. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourself. Peace out.